सर अब देखिए एक बार। Okay, so hi, good evenings. So here we are for the analysis of Endeavor Open Mac Mock CMAT 4, right? So we'll begin in next 5 minutes, right? It is 7 o'clock now. We shall begin by 7374, right? So we'll wait for more people to join in. Okay, chalo. So you start at 7374. Okay, so hi, good evenings. So here we are for the paper analysis of Endeavor Open Mock CMAT 4, right? So this was our fourth mock in the series of mock CMATs. CMAT, as you all know, is going to be conducted in the end of February this year, right? So let's just dive into it, right? So hopefully you had a wonderful time taking this mock. So moving on. So if you look at the paper pattern, this is pretty much standard CMAT paper pattern, wherein you have 25 questions in quant, 25 questions in logical reasoning, 25 questions in language comprehension, right? And 25 questions in general knowledge. So total, there are 100 questions, right? Out of 100 questions, for answering 100 questions, what you get is 180 minutes, and for every correct answer you get a +1, and for every incorrect answer you get a -1, right? So what we'll do is we'll start with first we'll start with analysis of language comprehension section, then uske baad we go to general knowledge, uske baad we go to quant, then logical reasoning, and finally we talk about score and percentile correlation. We talk about what questions you should have attempted, what questions you should have not attempted, and we'll do this in each section. We'll do this in each section, right? So let's get on with the language comprehension section, right? So now, if you look at this paper, right? So out of 25 questions in language comprehension, there were 10 questions of reading comprehensions, which was spread across two passages. दो passages थे यहाँ पे. And then there were 15 questions of verbal ability, right? So now if we get into the difficulty level of the passages, so first passage was about International Court of Justice, right, which is in The Hague. Lengthy passage, that was 980 words ka passage. But questions 5 the, right? And if you look at this, out of 5 questions, 4 questions were easy to difficult, were easy to moderate, right? So 980 words ka passage hai, the passage was not dense, it was easy to read. It was easy to read, the passage was not at all dense. And 5 में से 4 question were either easy or either moderate. So एक question difficult था, but then उस question के लिए भी if you read carefully, there was a specific detailed question. But if you read carefully in the second or third paragraph of the passage, आपको बहुत प्यार से answer मिल जाता है, right? It was just that you needed to read carefully, right? So frankly speaking, uh, using the approach one, जो approach one हम लोगों ने सीखा है lectures में, right? Using the approach one, you should have attempted this passage. 980 words का passage है. It would have taken around 10 minutes to read the passage and further 2-3 minutes to answer the questions. So somewhere around 12 to 13 minutes में ये passage हो जाता, right? Somewhere around 12 to 14 minutes में ये passage हो जाता. Then we go to the next passage, which was a book review on the book The Blind Assassin, right? Now, this passage की बात करें तो when you start reading the passage, you realize that the language is quite dense. When you start reading the passage, you realize that the language is quite dense. ठीक है? And first paragraph पढ़ते हो, second paragraph पढ़ते हो, and you are like, यार इतना अच्छे से probably समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. So my first instinct, what I would do is I would leave the passage, right? There were 3 inference questions, and so my first instinct would be to leave this passage for time being, because when you talk about CMAT, itna samjho कि CMAT does not have sectional cutoffs, right? Yeah, those colleges which accept CMAT score do not have sectional cutoffs, right? So my thought process over here would have been कि यार ये passage attempt करने से it would be better कि I save this time and probably utilize that time in my quant and reasoning, right? And फिर at the end of it, सपोज मेरे पास लास्ट में 10 मिनट या 15 मिनट बचते हैं एट द एंड ऑफ द पेपर, आई कैन डेफिनेटली कम बैक टू दिस पैसेज एंड अटेम्प्ट इट, right? But first go mein, I would not attempt this passage. I would have left this passage in probably 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, after reading the first or second paragraph and looking at the type of questions, right? Then when we move on to the next section, which is the verbal ability part. Now, surprisingly, most of the times, or the students that I've been talking to at times are quite afraid of grammar, right? But then in this paper, the grammar questions turned out to be really easy, right? So there was one question on conditional tenses, right? Conditional tenses के चार combinations हैं, वो याद रखो, तो kind of it was way easy, right? Then when you talk about the word usage questions, which are of match the following based, so match the following questions में यार आराम से एक मीनिंग के साथ एक सेंटेंस मैच हो जाता था, and there was only one such option which used to match. So option elimination से या स्मार्ट तरीके से if you had attempted it, ये चारों के चारों questions attempt करने लायक थे, right? Then when we go to the vocabulary section, one word substitution was difficult. Yes, you need a strong vocabulary. You should have studied your vocabulary modules, right? Uh, Antonyms were really easy, right? All the words uh, were something that were already covered somewhere in your classes or somewhere in your tests, right? Fill in the blanks based questions. I would say ek easy, ek moderate. I would have attempted both of them, right? So from the vocabulary section, I would have left these two questions, question 13 or 14. Yeah, rather 13 and 14 miss, I would have attempted one question, but I would have attempted both antonym questions and both fill in the blanks based questions, right? Then when you talk about the verbal ability part, just my parajumbles and critical reasoning. So now, surprisingly, the parajumble in this test were a bit weird. So what you are given is you are given a passage with 6 sentences, and the questions were like which of these sentence would be the third, which of them would be the third sentence of the paragraph, which of them would be the fifth sentence of the paragraph, and which of them would be the sixth sentence of the paragraph, right? So now problem with such questions is that पहले आपको शांति से sentences पढ़ने पड़ते हैं, and then you have to arrange them on your own. You don't have options to help you out, right? You don't have options to help you out. So that becomes challenging, and the passage that was given to you was also difficult. इतना आसान hints नहीं था. So I would say parajumbers were difficult. So again, on first instinct, I would have left those questions, right? Instead of spending 5 minutes or 6 minutes in arranging those sentences, I would have saved that time and given to quant and reasoning or given to critical reasoning questions. Because अच्छे खासे लोग, right, would try attempting parajumbles instead of critical reasoning, right? In this paper, you should have done the other way around. You should have attempted critical reasoning and left out on parajumbles, because critical reasoning, two entrance questions, way easy, really easy option elimination, right? Chalo then. So as far as language comprehension section is concerned, there were 11 questions which were easy, जिसमें से 10 या 11 attempt हो जाने चाहिए. 6 questions were moderate, so 3 to 4 out of them, and around 8 questions were of difficult level, right? So उसमें से 2-3 कर लेते. So as far as this paper is concerned, I would judge that the language comprehension section was slightly from moderate to difficult side, right? And hence my expected attempts I would keep less over here, 15 to 18. The time limit I kept only 40 minutes. The reason for that is that I would want you to spend more for this paper, right? For this paper only. For this paper, I would, yeah, rather, we would want you to spend more time on quant and reasoning, because there could have been more questions over there, and GK, and then spending more time in verbal, right? So the expected attempts is 15 to 18. If I take 18 attempts as reference and I take 80% as accuracy, तो आपके 14 correct होने चाहिए, right? And आपका score as far as verbal section is concerned should be around 45 to 52, right? Should be around 45 to 52. Now, then, so let's look at the suggested time, yes, 40 minutes. So now let's look at the general knowledge section, right? So now CMAT की बात करें, if we talk about CMAT, so CMAT has been following this pattern, right? CMAT will always have more static GK questions and less questions on current affairs. So that is what we did in this paper as well. So there were 6 questions on current affairs and there were around 19 questions on static GK. So that made up your GK section. Now, if you look at the current affairs questions, now current affairs questions, I would, rather than terming them as easy, difficult, or moderate, what I would like to say over here is, if you have been reading newspapers regularly, if you have been watching news regularly, if you have been following sensible news regularly, right? Then you were in position to answer all 6 of them. Then you were in position to answer all 6 of them, right? Current affairs is something that is always from news, newspapers, happenings around you. So this is something that you should not miss, right? And I would want you to attempt all 6 of these questions. We would want you to attempt all 6 of these questions, right? Then there were 5 questions on geography, right? 3 questions on general science, 3 questions on history. So now when I say 5 questions on geography, so now you might want to start kind of learning about capitals and countries. You might want to start learning about monuments and cities and countries, right? You might want to start learning about brushing up your GK on planets and the solar system. General size के around 3 questions, right? History के 3 questions. So history में there was a question on past chief ministers and who was the first chief minister and all those things. So basically, now what you need to do is start learning all the first. Start learning all the first. मतलब क्या? So over here there was a question on who was the first woman chief minister of first woman chief minister in India, right? So start learning about who was the first prime minister of India, who was the first president of India, who was the first governor general of India, right? If you talk about cricket, then who was the first person to score a century, right? You talk of, or rather, who was the first Indian to captain Indian, who was the first person to captain the Indian cricket team post independence, right? Then economics, there were 2 questions. 2 questions on polity, 2 questions on business and corporate affairs. So business and corporate awareness is something that we expect, and books and author पे एक ही questions. Forgive me for mentioning it twice, right? So एक ही questions are books and author पे. What we expect now is कि 2-3 चीजें तुम्हें पता होनी चाहिए, right? कि you should know about business and corporate awareness, right? You should know who is the CEO of which company. You should know about the taglines of famous companies, right? Uh, you should know about just there was a question on Cyrus Mistry and Tata Group, right? So boss, there was a question on Cyrus Mistry. Cyrus Mistry, jaise look at the options and Tata Group has to be your answer over there, right? You cannot miss out on such questions. It is as simple as that. Economics mein there was a question which probably is a part of your academics. So those of you who are doing BBA or BCom, अब जो लोग नहीं कर रहे हैं ठीक है, don't get all sentimental about it. ये question छोड़ दिया, right? But so overall अगर बात करें, so there were 7 easy questions in GK, out of which 5 से 6 attempt हो जाते, 7 moderate questions, out of which 3 या 4 attempt हो जाते, 11 difficult questions थे, तो ठीक है 3-5 कर लेते. So somewhere on the lines, good attempt in GK would have been 11 questions. With 80% accuracy, you would have got around 9 to 12 questions correct. Right? And expected score would have been 34 to 35 questions, right? So that was all about verbal and GK section. I would request Sunil sir to take over from here and go ahead with the quant and reasoning section. Sunil sir, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Let's start with the quant section, quant and DI section, and then we'll move towards the logical reasoning section. So, guys, in the quant section, I'm going to look into first the topic distribution. Then we'll look into the question mapping that the question are, it's easy, moderate, or difficult category. Then we'll look into the expected attempts from each of this category, and then the expected score. This is going to be the flow of this section analysis. So if I look into the quant and DI section topic distribution, then if I figure it out, you can check it out from majorly from all the topics the question have been asked. कहीं पर भी ऐसा नहीं था कि किसी चैप्टर में से बहुत ज्यादा था, कहीं से भी कुछ कम था. DI has its share of the weighted like 3 question. Clocks and calendar में से clocks का question was over here. So if you figure it out, quadrilateral polygon, then circles, and then triangle. So geometry we're having total 4 questions, and rest of the question were distributed in arithmetic, algebra, and the modern maths. Now let's look into the question category wise. So out of total 25 questions, 14 questions were categorized in the easy section. One question was from time distance. It was simple, calculate the distance. Khali, distance equal to speed into time multiplication karna tha, answer aa jata. And similarly for boats and streams के लिए, a very easy question, doable. Percentage के अंदर based on the fraction, progression के अंदर AP arithmetic progression based question था. Ratio proportion, the ratio of milk and water. There were 3 containers, milk and water in each one of them. The similar question was in the module also. Profit and loss, find the cost price. Number system, distribution of the population means कि कुछ percent लोग यहाँ पर है, कुछ percent लोग यहाँ पर है, कुछ percent लोग यहाँ पर है. Finally, what's the ratio of the required group? Linear equation, sum of the age of father and a son. Probability coins for having a question in that. Average, the average of 4 people was given, and after that one person was added into it. The similar question was there in the module also. In data interpretation, a very straightforward 3 question. ठीक है, straightforward 3 question based on the bar graph. कोई complex data नहीं था, simple सा एक graph था, आपको question answer करने थे. Partnership, 2 people started the business, one joined later on. It was based on that concept, but it was very, very easily doable. Means if anyone gives, anyone skips certain questions, आप ऐसा नहीं कि आपके पास पहला question है करना ही है, skip करो अगर नहीं हो रहा है तो. ठीक है, if they are able to find this 14 questions easily, एक question आराम से 1 से 1.5 मिनट में doable था. कहीं पर भी calculation error भी होने के chances नहीं थे. Let's move to the later stage. The 9 questions were classified in the moderate category. One question based on the quadrilateral and polygon. Find the area of the portion in a square. एक square था, square के अंदर you need to find the area of the certain portion. अगर देखो तो वो जो बचा हुआ area है वो इक्विलेटरल ट्राइंगल बन जाता है if you're able to focus in that. Time and work, a very typical question given the solid examples also, two people start the work, then someone leaves. Time and distance, a certain person drives and then he take rest. Now, it was based on the rest, कि उसके ऊपर से final time क्या आएगा. So you need to just, take the rest part in the consideration. SICI के अंदर SICI combined simple interest भी दिया था, compound interest भी दिया था, उसके ऊपर से the question was asked. Percentage, the distribution of the toffee. Now the percentage and the ratio proportion, the question was quite similar. ठीक है, but you know that percentage and ratio go hand in hand. ठीक है, अगर fraction के साथ 100 लगा दूं तो percentage बन जाएगा, ना लगाओ तो ratio रहेगा. Linear equation head count, clear, head count and foot count के ऊपर था. Hens के दो होते हैं, फिर any other animals having a 4 legs, it was based on that concept. Clocks and calendar, the question was based on angle एज इन दो कॉन्सेप्ट थे इसके अंदर. एक तो टाइमिंग, एक तो डिले टाइमिंग वाला था, क्लॉक वाज लूजिंग टाइम और गेनिंग टाइम समथिंग, एंड अलोंग विद दैट द एंगल वाज आस्क्ड. ट्राइंगल के अंदर सिमिलरिटी, अच्छी बात ये थी कि बता ही रखा था कि दोनों ट्राइंगल सिमिलर हैं, सो यू डोंट नीड टू प्रूव द सिमिलरिटी. सिमिलरिटी के ऊपर से आपको क्वेश्चन आंसर करना था स्ट्रेट अवे. सो दिस 9 क्वेश्चंस, I would say that out of this 9, if you give some dedicated time on your strength, on the area in which you are having focus on, clear, you can easily attempt something around 6 questions. You can easily attempt 6 questions out of them. Yeah, there were two speed breakers. One, a circle and the quadrilateral and polygon. And now guys, luckily both of these questions were from 21 to 25 के स्लैब में थे. ठीक है, सो ऐसा नहीं कि आपको बीच में आकर आपने कोई टाइम वेस्ट कर दिया, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए था आपके साथ में. द डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस वर एट द लास्ट. वन वाज इन द सर्कल का और पॉलीगॉन का कॉम्बो था, और एक क्वाड्रेटर पॉलीगॉन का था. रेक्टेंगुलर स्लैब वाज दैट, इंक्लाइंड जैसा था. ठीक है, जहाँ पे 30 60 90 का प्रॉपर्टी लगने वाला था. दिस टू क्वेश्चन वर स्पीड ब्रेकर. अगर इसको अवॉइड कर सकते तो टाइम सेव करके यू कैन allot that time on the required questions. Expected attempts, easy questions guys. Easy is the cherry pick. These are the questions you need to solve. So out of 14, I expect that you should attempt all the 14. 9 moderate में से I would pick up the 6 questions based on your strength. 2 questions were the moderate and time consuming, where the speed breakers should have been ignored. So out of 25, expected attempts are 20. Total time I would have given for this section is 50 minutes. 50 minutes के अंदर I'm expecting accuracy of 80 to 85%, but if you give 50 minutes, then the accuracy could have been achieved something around 90% हो सकती थी, अगर किसी का कॉन स्ट्रेंथ है तो. 20 attempts, 80% accuracy के साथ देखूँ तो 16 correct, 4 incorrect. Expected score would have been 60. I counted it on lower side, it would have been 60 to 65 something. Achieve ho sakta tha. Why? Because we, as Deepak sir mentioned, we are giving less time to the verbal section and we are devoting that time to the quant and the reasoning section. So that's was all about the quant and the DI section. Let's move to the logical reasoning. So same pattern will follow for the LR section. So let's start with the topic distribution. Now again, the whole reasoning module was tested over here. Majorly all the chapters are tested over here. Verbal reasoning, we're having a good share of the questions. The total 8 questions were asked from the verbal reasoning portion. And analytical reasoning, we're having the question from arrangement, puzzle, series, directions, and blood relation. And the mental ability, the topics were tested were cubes and dices, visual reasoning over here. I mistakenly taken the analogy over here. I need to put it on this side. So the count of the verbal questions were in total 9 questions. I just mistakenly took the analogy over there. Yeah, let's see the questions by the difficulty level. If I talk about the easy questions, guys, there was the one puzzle, in which the least preferred something was asked. It was quite doable. Visual reasoning, you just need to identify the pattern. It was easy one. Because there was 3 questions on the series. 3 questions the series. तीनों क्वेश्चन डुएबल थे. उसके अंदर सिंपल मिसिंग टर्म फाइंड करने वाला था और वो कांस्टेंट रेशियो वाला था कि दिस अपॉन दिस इक्वल दिस अपॉन दिस, जो प्रपोर्शन वाली कैटेगरी होती है. इट वाज बेस्ड ऑन दैट कांसेप्ट ओवर हियर. एंड वन सीरीज वाज अल्फाबेटिक, but it was not that complex as alphabetic, doable one. Direction sense, change in direction. One question was कि नॉर्थ ईस्ट बन जाए, वेस्ट ये बन जाए तो साउथ क्या होगा. Cubes and dices, I just mistakenly like cubes with dots. It was a dice with dots. Clear. And you just, sorry, a cubes with numbers were there and you need to find out which number is finally that one. Blood relation, the whole data was given, you need to find the final relation. Generally the blood relation, the question comes like कि finally mother का इसके साथ क्या relation है या फिर उसका इसके साथ क्या relation है. Clear? If you just practice the question from the modules, quite doable question. So the 7 questions were easy ones. The more questions were in the moderate category over here. If I just compare quant and reasoning, reasoning was a bit on the tougher side. That's why I'm devoting more time to the reasoning section. So arrangement, guys, arrangement का क्वेश्चन ना हमेशा क्या होता है कि थोड़ा कॉम्प्लेक्स होता है क्योंकि एक ही डेटा के अंदर 3 क्वेश्चन होते हैं. सो अगर आप एक पे ज्यादा टाइम स्पेंड करोगे, यू विल बी एबल टू गेट 3 क्वेश्चंस राइट. यू जस्ट नीड टू अरेंज द टेबल. सो 6 नाम थे, सब्जेक्ट्स थे, डेज थे, इतना सारा डेटा दिया हुआ था. Clear? So you just need to arrange that data and it was doable. Puzzle. One puzzle was there that different amount in different boxes. Analogy based on synonym. Clear? There was one analogy which was based on synonym. Synonyms that you need to understand. Series again, I picked up one series. जो आप दो बात करी. One question was in the moderate category. Constant ratio. Direction. Two questions over here. बस खाली घुमा थोड़ा ज्यादा रहते. Final direction and direction of particular place. Clear? एक बंदा घूमने निकला था तो टेम्पल इधर है. ठीक है. Then theater is on some other corner. You just need to find out the final direction. Yeah, calendar. This calendar one was a bit complex, bit time consuming also. You could have avoided this one. Odd one out, तीनों fabric थे, one was something else. That thing you need to mark. Again, a blood relation over here, final relation which you need to find. Quite similar to the previous one, but more data intensive. Now, rest of the 3 questions, cause and effect, statement and conclusion, and course of action. Clear? Cause and effect, we're having 2 events. I need to find out, which one relate to, the another one. Statement conclusion, having the 2 conditions, silogs, and course of action, having the 3 actions, that this statement leads to which of these actions. Bit of the confusing, I won't say that तीनों के तीनों हो पाते, 3 में से I would say that 1 or 2, if you're having the upper hand in the verbal thing. I'll come to the good attempts of this section, just hold for a moment. Yeah, I'd say that reasoning was a bit on the tougher side. That's why the moderate and time consuming questions like speed breaker were also more over here. Total 9 questions थे verbal के 9 question में से I would say that majorly questions were over here. Majorly questions were moderate and time consuming category. Logical continuity. The statement was given. You need to find out which of the following options having the same intention. Clear? But you need to check all the 4 options. Course of action again over here, cause and effect and statement and conclusion. But this one were bit on the tougher side and bit of the confusing ones. If I check the expected attempts over here, I always pick easy questions. 7 easy would have been easily sorted out. Moderate questions, there were 14 ones. I'm expecting that if you devote good amount of time, then 12 could have been easily done. 12 could have been done. This question, in this moderate category question, the questions were not that much difficult. You just need to give an extra thought to crack these questions. Yeah? So it shouldn't be like that कि sir थोड़ा ज़्यादा complex है तो छोड़ दे. अगर सब छोड़ दोगे तो बचेगा क्या पेपर के अंदर? Clear? Because we are giving less time to the verbal section. GK section could have been done in 10 minutes. Quant I'm giving 50 minutes. Clear? So ultimately, in order to target these 19 questions with 80 to 85% accuracy, expected correct would have been 15. With 4 incorrect, score would have been 56. And the time you are giving something around 70 minutes. Something around 70 minutes. Still, if you check it out, verbal 40 minutes, GK 10. So 40 plus 10, 50. And over here, the quant section, we are given 50 minutes. and LR we have given 70 minutes. So in total, we are done with 170 minutes. Still you are left with 10 minutes. So where you should utilize this 10 minutes? This 10 minutes should be utilized where your strength lies. So as you have gone through the whole paper, certain questions you have marked. Clear? Just go and revisit those questions and try to crack 2 or 3 odd questions in this 10 minutes. If we check the overall score and the percentile, then the good score which we have given, if you add those good scores, your score would easily lie above 95 percentile. Above 95 percentile, and it could reach to the 98 percentile. So the good score given by us is in the range of 95 to 98 percentile. Clear? Just by attempting the easy and the medium category questions and just ignoring the speed breakers in the paper. So that's all. That's all for the analysis of EOM CMAT 4. Thank you, guys.